everyone, we're gonna get started. Thanks for coming to this session. My name is Tim Moulton. We're gonna talk about the Talent Companion. It's a new way to boost your candidate engagement and improve their experience with generative AI. So just some housekeeping from an agenda perspective, do quick introductions, talk about the problem statement, what we're really trying to solve here, what our point of view on that problem is, and then what the Phenom approach is to solve it. And then finally, a demo of what the new offering looks like. So what is the Talent Companion? This term has been thrown around a bit at different sessions. So from our perspective, there's so many different personas involved in the hiring process. I mean, you all know that. There's hiring manager, recruiters, leadership, the list goes on depending on your process. But their time is very limited. For some of them, they have tons of requisitions they're handling. For some of them, it's almost just a side project to get their team moving forward and growing. So we know that you all could design an optimal candidate experience. It's just not feasible with what sort of limitations you have in terms of time or capacity. So that's where we think the Phenom Talent Companion can step in. It's a new approach that'll guide candidates through the hiring process using conversational AI and intelligent workflows to sort of be an end-to-end assistant that they know they can always go to if they have questions or need to know more information about where they sit in the hiring process or what their next step is. What that means is your talent acquisition leaders are going to see a shorter time to hire, they're going to have less ghosting because their candidates are going to be more prepared and more engaged. Your recruiters are going to be able to focus on more strategic activities because we're taking a lot of tasks off their plate that they're currently responsible for, which is a lot of the back and forth with candidates, a lot of answering questions, things that we can sort of automate and then free up their time. And for managers, they're now going to be able to engage with more informed candidates, meaning that a lot of their questions have already been answered, so they can get into really fruitful and meaningful conversations on that small amount of time that they end up getting with their actual candidates. So, the problem statement that we're trying to solve today, it's no mystery. You've seen a lot of stats the past 3 days. You probably know from your own industries. Everyone's fighting for the same attention of these qualified candidates, and that window of opportunity is very small. We all know that. See, these candidates have a lot of engagement with your career sites. We see that. We know that the SEO is working. They're out there, they're seeing these jobs, they're getting interested, but what happens after that is where we want to address, because the engagement is there, but the conversion is what we think needs to be handled better. At the root of this, it's a ghosting problem. And it's not just the candidates, it's employers too. In fact, 76% of employers saying they've been ghosted, but 77% of candidates say they've been ghosted. Now these two stats feel like they can't really live together at the same time. They're kind of contradictory, right? But there's an element here of time. See, it takes time to make decisions. Again, I think you all know that. Hopefully you picked up some tips or tricks or maybe even tools that will help speed up that decision-making process. But at the end of the day, you need some time to determine if a candidate is worth bringing in to talk to and to use resources on that candidate. So while you're making that decision, we think that there needs to be sort of better care of how that candidate experience is dictated, and that's where we think the Talent Companion can step in. Because if you don't, up to 62% of these candidates say they lose interest, and nearly half of them feel that if the communication is lacking, they're gone. You'll never hear from them again. I mean, you've all been there. Like, you've been talking to a company, and then you start dreaming about what your life is going to be like with this new great role you just saw posted. You're thinking about how you're going to tell your family about it, how you're going to tell your dog about it. You're excited, and that's great. But you have such a small window of opportunity as an employer to engage with a candidate while that dream is building to feed that fire. And if you don't, it's going to ember out. And sometimes it builds enough resentment that no matter what you do, you come back to them with great options. They're gone. They don't want to talk to you anymore. What this leads to, hiring can take up to 40 days on average. Those are the stats we're seeing. That costs you money. It's time you're taking to spend talking to a lot of different candidates. It's time that you're using time from your hiring managers to spend focus on these interviews that might lead to nothing, or they might be no-shows because of this. So we want to figure out how we can really shrink that time to hire. And we've been focusing on a lot of these areas here. Like, during these 40 days, what's going on? How are we talking to the candidates? How are we communicating with them? How are they being informed about their next steps and next actions, or what is coming down the pipeline for them? Once they are told that something is coming, how are you preparing them for your screenings, your interviews? If they have questions, how long does it take them to get an answer? How accurate is that answer? And then, are you meeting them where it's convenient for them, or are you forcing them into your communication processes? You might have a great career site that, we built some tools for them, we think they're pretty good, but once they're off of it, what are you doing? There's ways that you need to be able to nurture that relationship with the candidate once they're gone from that career site. So, Phenom's point of view. If you don't keep candidates in the loop, ready for the next hiring action, they're gonna walk. Your ability to extend this candidate experience across whatever channel they're in is the important piece here. This is where conversational AI, interview, or intelligent automation workflows can be designed to really produce a very specific experience for that candidate and meet them exactly where they are, whatever channels they're in. Now, you've heard generative AI thrown around a lot the past 3 days. I'm sure you've been reading articles, you've been maybe messing around with it yourself, and it's great. And see, Phenom and you together, we're positioned nicely in that we have a lot of these data points that we need to feed into these generative AI models so that you can produce that very, very specific experience that you want for your candidates. And it's gonna feel like the effort they're putting into your hiring process is being reciprocated for them. So, the Phenom approach. We've talked about it. The idea is basically bringing in a new persona that is this Phenom talent companion. It's the go-to assistant that's gonna hold the candidate's hand and provide that white glove treatment that you wanna provide to all of your best candidates and make sure that no matter where they are in the hiring process, they're getting that experience. And we've already looked at how this is really gonna help out each of these groups, but essentially, there's gonna be great efficiency gains from your hiring teams. You're gonna have better experience both for the candidates and the hiring managers, and it's gonna lead to overall better successful hiring processes. So I'm gonna go into a demo now to show you what this looks like. As I'm going through this, I do wanna call out, so the idea of this talent companion is that it's gonna interface with any of the modules that you might already have with Phenom. So if you're using hiring manager, EX, the talent companion, or the candidate hub that we've been building, all those pieces are gonna be fed into the talent companion, and it's gonna serve as that channel that a lot of these notifications and different information can be served to the candidate. So I'm on the career site. This is where most of the candidate's journeys start. At this point, I might open up the bot that's on the career site. At that point, we're gonna make the main focus the bot. See, the thing is, for this to work, the talent companion needs to be a trusted source. They need to know that this is a go-to that is gonna have the answers for them and provide a lot of that information about what is available and what the next steps are. So, say that I'm the candidate and I'm looking for sales jobs. In this case, the bot's gonna come back with me. It knows I'm in Philadelphia, so it's gonna try to find sales jobs for me. It's gonna provide a very quick view of what the title is, the location, and maybe even a quick video if you have that's enabled. And I wanna make sure everyone knows, a lot of this is very configurable. I've heard those questions at other sessions, so you're gonna be able to design this candidate experience how you'd like it, but showing off a couple things that are possible. So maybe I'm interested in one of these roles. I click on it. Now, if I scroll through now, I'm gonna get a job summary, that same video that I was seeing before, some other really powerful items here, such as hearing from our team. If you have testimonials, we hear that a lot of candidates really like to hear real human beings as part of this process. They don't want to be treated like another person that is just a name in a spreadsheet. They want to know that there's been care taken to the process. So if you can have testimonials here, that's something that can really make them feel like it's a personalized experience. We're going to show you the job location, so that's going to show up as well. And then again, as I mentioned, if you have EX or if you have anything, you can even have the career path so that they can know, okay, I'm applying for a sales manager role. My ultimate goal is to become a director of sales at some point. And I know that if I take this role and I spend some time at this company, there's a real good chance that I'll make it there. And they've already thought about this. They clearly have this career path laid out. So I know that it's something that is possible within this organization. That's great at this point. I'm interested in what this opportunity is. It's already given me a ton of information. But maybe I have some other questions. So if I click on I have a question, here's where we're gonna go and allow the assistant, the talent companion, to really give them any information they need. So maybe I'm really curious about what is a day like in the life. I didn't think that was answered too well in the information that I've looked at yet. At that point, we're gonna be able to use what you've already included within your job descriptions, along with some industry data to generate a really good description of what it is like in a sales manager role. So it's probably pretty small for you guys to read up there. I'm sure we'll be sharing this out later, but essentially it's just gonna generate a very nice succinct description of what is going on from a day-to-day perspective for a sales manager. That's great. Maybe I'm more curious about what is happening in the company. So I ask about what are the diversity and inclusion initiatives taken up. At that point, it's going to then, go and look throughout your career sites and any content you already have. The whole concept of this is that there's not going to be a lot of extra configuration work. If we know that you've already built this content, the assistant and companion is going to go try to find it for you. So in this case, there's already been a podcast that's been recorded and an article. So it's going to show right here within the Talent Companion. Now, I'm interested now. I've seen some great things about this company. So I click I'm interested. At this point, it's just going to ask for the basic information that is needed to move you forward as the candidate. In this case, again, configurable by everyone here. We really only need the first name and the email address. But maybe you have some extra qualification questions that you want to do. In this case, this company does have those set up. Are you eligible to work in the United States? Yes. How many years of experience do I have? 5 to 8 years, that's great. And then you can even configure to ask very specific questions. So if you even want to know why they're interested in this role, you give them the opportunity to give them some information to maybe personalize the candidate profile. At that point, you're getting a message saying, great, we have all the information we need, and we're going to outline what the next step is, which is someone will reach out over SMS shortly. Right away, the candidate gets a notification. We need this handoff there so they know the assistant, omni-channel, omnipresent. If they open it up, they're going to see we've gotten their application, the team is excited about your profile, and we'll review it soon. Please expect an update in the near future. We've now moved over to their ideal channel. If they want, they can respond back. Yeah, that's great. Do we have any, no. If you have any questions, we're going to handle those too. So, do we know when they're going to make a final decision? We're not sure, but here's our standard feedback on that question. Usually within 2 weeks, you're going to have some information, but that depends on the current workload. These are all things that, of course, you would set up from what your hiring process is. But again, we're ready to answer any questions they might have, and it's going to give them the information that they're looking for without having to bug your recruiters or your hiring managers. Now, maybe we now want to invite Kevin to an interview. Right away, they're going to get that message within the chat that's already been established within their SMS channel. The context is there, they know who's reaching out to them, and they're probably, hopefully, been waiting for this message to come through, and they're ready to move forward. We're going to give them, some context about what we're asking them to do, and then what are 5 suggested time slots specifically handpicked for you. In this case, we're using our scheduling backend, but essentially we're going to be looking at what are 5 time slots that we know are most likely to be picked because they're free for the interviewers and they're not bookended against other interviews or the end of the day. So those will show here. The candidate will always have the option of going to this link here to see all time slots, but hopefully it's simple enough that they can just say, let's pick the second time slot, and they get a confirmation right away. They know that their interview's scheduled, they have all the information they need to get there, and they have options if they need to cancel or reschedule in the future. Now, as we're moving forward, again, anything that's been integrated within the Phenom platform, in this case, if they have the candidate hub set up, or if they have the interviewer profile set up, those are going to get driven right through the Talent Companion as well. In this case, I could click on the first link, and I could see any tips and tricks that have been set up for this sales role. Or maybe I'm interested in who my interviewers are because I want to be able to connect on a personal level. In that case, if I click on Sarah James, I'll be able to just see the profile that's been set up, a quick blurb about myself, what communities they're involved in, and relevant work experience. So now the candidate gets to get familiarized with their interviewer. They can go into it feeling a bit more confident about their role, what their candidacy, and then who they're going to be talking to. Any other updates that need to be driven to the candidate for their interview can be. So if you're booking a flight for the candidate and they need a way to be notified about that, that can be driven through the Talent Companion as well. Same thing with hotel rooms. So your candidate's going to have a one-stop shop in the palm of their hands of all the information they need for the interview. We talked about ghosting before. So how do we make sure they actually show up? We'll send periodic reminders about the interview, and it'll include things that will get them hopefully engaged about your company. So again, dropping the interview guide in if we see they haven't looked at it yet, or just reminding them about exactly when the interview is. Just a nice touch point so that they're remembering, yeah, I've got this scheduled, I'm excited for it, and this is what's coming next. At any point, they can ask a question about the interview or your company. The Talent Companion is built so that we can go again and pull from any information you've already uploaded to the Companion's backend, or any link that you've given to us to your career site. So if you already have a lot of this information there, it's going to be available for the Companion. So here's an example asking about HR policies and work from home, and they've got an answer that's configured. So you might be wondering, where is this content coming from? Many of you who might be experienced with the Phenom chatbot might have seen a screen similar to this, and this is our chatbot management platform. What it does is it allows you to go in and create FAQs and then related questions for those FAQs so that you can set exactly what content you want your Talent Companion or your chatbot to respond with. Now, there's been a lot of discussions around what this would look like from managing all this content, and we don't want to put more time onto your recruiters or your talent teams to have to go in here and create all this content. So what we've done is, with the generative AI models that we have in our backend, we've made ways that you can generate these questions based off of the links that you have on your career site, any documents that you want to upload to us, or any questions that are coming through that we think we already have an answer to based on industry information. In that case, it'll show up here as AI generated so that you know that it's an AI generated question, and you have control over whether or not you want it to be auto-published or you want to have a review process first. So maybe you're not too confident in our models yet, and that's fine, we understand, but you want to see them here first, take a look, and then you have an easy way to publish them. You could just go into the question, and you would hit save and publish. So you have a way to really control what information is pushed out. And there's, as I mentioned before, the way that you can say, here's a link of information that we have. Here's a document that we've used in the past for internal briefings or external FAQs. Or if you want to manually add one, you can do that here as well. Once you upload a file, we'll just ask you to tag what it is. So in this case, we're uploading an employee policy for 2022. We'll tag what the topic is, and we'll tag the location. So in this case, Ambler, Tel Aviv. We'll then try to extract as many FAQs as we can. In this case, 48 have been extracted. And then you would show them here, tagged with the AI generation tag. So hopefully it's a simple way. We know that managing FAQs in the past have been a real heavy lift. So hopefully it's a way that you can reuse a lot of the content that you already have to drive that candidate experience. Here's just a view of what we'd say in terms of what are our groups of FAQs. And then finally, we talked about ghosting a little bit before. So again, just a reminder, the companion is going to be there. It's going to be trying to drive as many reminders to your candidate to show up as possible. So the standard reminder that we have today through our scheduling tool will also be able to be driven through the Talent Companion. The thing I want to call out, these are all very specific use cases. So what the Talent Companion is built to do is to be a self-learning tool. So if you know, or if we see that candidates are reaching out often, X number of days after their interview is scheduled, we're going to start flagging those within our backend and can see that that is a touch point that the candidate is currently missing in the process, and maybe we need to drive out new messaging to them. So that's the Talent Companion offering. It's an omni-channel, omnipresent assistant that your candidate can hopefully learn to trust and grow confident in, that they have someone they can talk to about anything from the hiring process. Thanks everyone for coming. Any questions? Sure.
Hi, love the feature of being able to upload existing documents and have the solution parse out FAQs. It's amazing. I'm struggling to understand the additional new functionality here versus the existing functionality with Phenom SMS, as well as Phenom Chatbot. It seems to me like it's a repackaging of existing features that you're just reselling back to us. Help prove my understanding more.
Yeah, no, it's a fair question, and a lot of the functionality is built in different fragments today. But the port of view for us for the Talent Companion is it's one singular companion that will be there end to end along the candidate journey. There's pieces around the career site that we have today. This is a bit of a revamped UI. We don't have a lot of the scheduling pieces there today, and sorry. And the idea is that the companion will always be able to respond to whatever the candidate is asking for, and it's going to learn on its own. It's not going to be something where you always need to manage yourself and manage those FAQs, and will drive us improved notifications that are sent out proactively. So there's a lot of pieces that are there. We definitely understand that, but it's supposed to be sort of this self-learning model that will expand capabilities as we move along. Sure. I got it. gotta stop doing that. Sorry.
I assume that it's going to have data input, like ChatGPT does, and it's going to have a data set.
Sure.
That, I saw in the example that it was giving directions for hotel. That's not something that's part of your normal chatbot, right?
Right.
Part of the normal SMS. So the additional facts about the location, that's the kind of stuff that this feature adds. Is that right?
Right, yeah, so the content around like the interview tidbits in terms of if you had something scheduled for you, like we've now flagged that as important to send to the candidate, so it's gonna get driven to them. So that's additional functionality that's not standard as part of like our base level chatbot essentially. Sure.
So with the document upload, I love the ability for them to ask questions and parse from it, but we don't know if policy gets updated quite frequently. So how easy is it to, 2022 document changes to 2023, how easy is it to upload to your set of like 40 something questions that got pulled from there? And it's a completely different policy now. How do we have to manually and find those questions in the form, or is it how
No, I don't think we showed it there, but there is a way to track the source of the FAQs. So if it's a 2022 document, you can just filter by that and just delete it all and then upload the new document. Sorry.
What happens if the bot doesn't have a response and the candidate continues to ask a question? How is someone who's doing previously notified if they lose it because they don't have the right answer?
Yeah, so we have a standard set of fallback responses and then like a flagging process. Not sure if you're familiar with our scheduling tool, but there's an escalation route that we go to where we can send to like sort of a centralized mailbox or whatever mailbox you identify that there's a open question that needs to be answered. So if you want to specify it globally or for a certain requisition, the idea is you can be able to route those questions to a certain person and get that option if you want to send a response back later. And the bot will make that known to the candidate, hey, we're trying to find an answer for you. We'll get back to you if we can. Sure.
I believe earlier you had mentioned when you use case an example that you used about the candidate asking more about the sales role, that you would pull from internal stuff, but also industry input. Can you speak to that external industry as a source? Do we control where that pulls from?
Sure.
A salesperson in a healthcare setting is very different from the salesperson in your retail outlet. So
Yeah.
teams of mine might be concerned that this would pull incorrect role-related information.
Yeah, and we would always have a toggle for you if you didn't want to pull in data from any sort of external source and you wanted us to rely fully on your job descriptions. We just have such a large source of job descriptions and job description data today that we can sort of use that to formulate these likely day-to-day activities, and it should be contextual enough to know that it's for a certain industry versus another one. But if you're not liking it, it's easy to turn off that piece for you. Okay, doesn't look like we have any other questions, so thanks everyone for jumping on, and if you have any follow-up questions, feel free to find me.